Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard, and thank you for watching today's Canada Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. The jet stream on Tuesday morning, we're watching a trough dig across the western U.S. with a ridge over the eastern two-thirds of the country. That's allowing some warmth to rebuild across the United States Corn Belt, an area that hasn't seen a lot of that. But this trough is going to continue to lift across the Rockies and into the northern plains. And that's going to keep things active from the northern plains into the upper Midwest and across the southern prairie as well over the next 48 to 72 hours. Temperature anomalies for the next 10 days, keeping things pretty cool across the Canadian prairie here over the next 5 days overall. Will start to moderate as we get to the end of the week, moving back towards closer to average as we get to the weekend. And then as we head into next week, we're going to watch the ridge reestablish itself over the eastern two-thirds of the U.S. and Canada, allowing some of that warmth to surge as far north as parts of Montana and Ontario as we get into the September 16th through the 20th time frame. Perhaps, western portions of the Canadian prairie here seeing a day or two of warmth here as we get into early next week, but really going to be keeping the warmth further off to the east, kind of dividing things here. A flip from what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Over the last 2 to 3 weeks, it's been warm west and then cool east, but as we head into, again, the next 6 to 10 days, will be cooler off to the east, warmer off to the north. The next week of precipitation, again, keeping things active in this corridor across the far southern prairie into the northern plains of the United States. Week 2, we're going to worry a little bit more about next week. The details pretty unclear as we get into the week 2 time frame. Things are a little bit more subtle, although we may have another significant storm system kind of lifting through the area late next week. The satellite picture here on Thursday morning, lots of cloud cover, cooler and rainy across a big chunk of the Canadian prairies. Got a couple of clusters of thunderstorms across the northern plains of the U.S. We'll be watching for severe weather in this corridor from the northern plains into the upper Midwest of the United States, but across the Canadian prairie, really just cool and rainy over the next few days. The radar picture here on Tuesday morning, right around 5 o'clock in the morning Central Time here. Again, a lot of rain falling across parts of the southern prairie here from Medicine Hat over to Saskatoon, Regina, down toward Brandon, waking up to some rain showers, even as far east as Winnipeg. Seeing some light rain showers, and this is going to be the theme here as we head through the next 24 to 72 hours, especially as you head off to the east. So where's the jet stream going then over the next week or so? Well, this will kind of tell the story. We're starting off here Tuesday morning. We got the trough in the east, trough in the west, the ridge in the east. Again, that's keeping things active across this corridor as we start the week. Taking this into the middle part of the week, we see this little wave kind of making its way through the northern plains of the U.S. That's going to bring a more heavy rainfall threat to parts of southern Saskatchewan and then especially southern Manitoba as we get into Thursday. This wave sneaks through and it doesn't change things a whole lot, and rather we watch another trough dig into the western United States, western Canada, allowing that ridge to reestablish itself. And that's going to allow some warmth to build into parts of Manitoba, Ontario, and then perhaps a day or two of warmth over there in Alberta and Saskatchewan. But you can see this trough kind of digging in here. We're going to be on the cooler side as you head off to the west, keeping probably some cloud cover and rain activity going on in this area as this wave moves through. Taking a look at the 500 millibar vorticity map, this shows us the areas of spin, helps us pick out these short waves. A whole mess right here, this high over low pattern here off to the west, again keeping things very active across this corridor of the northern plains into parts of the Canadian prairie. We'll take this through the first couple of days. You see this first wave right here making its way through the Intermountain West, through the Rocky Mountains into the northern plains, sweeping through Manitoba and Ontario by the time we get to Thursday and Friday. Watch another wave making its way behind that through Alberta and then into Saskatchewan Friday afternoon into Friday night, bringing another chance of showers and perhaps a thunderstorm to the region before we watch another major wave digging across parts of the Pacific Northwest. Here you see it emerging here as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. Now, it's in advance of this wave that we would see some warm air filtering back into the region. That would mean maybe Sunday or Monday being on the warmer side across Alberta and Saskatchewan, but by the time this wave starts moving over the area here, getting into late Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we'll be cooling back down across western portions of the Canadian prairie before this wave sweeps through here perhaps Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week, bringing another significant rainfall threat to parts of the Canadian prairie. Now, day by day, we're looking at the precipitation forecast here from the GFS model. Starting off Tuesday morning, this looks about right. Lots of rain across the Canadian prairie here, with some thunderstorms across parts of the upper Midwest across the United States. Head through the day on Tuesday, watching for some light rain shower activity continuing across the Canadian prairie. Significant thunderstorms likely across parts of the northern plains here, South Dakota and Nebraska. Maybe some severe thunderstorms across that region. but really across the Canadian Prairie, talking about a lighter, cooler rain. A more significant rain chance moves in on Thursday across southwestern or across southeastern Saskatchewan into the southern half of Manitoba, as this more organized area of low pressure sweeps through parts of North Dakota and Minnesota, again during the day on Thursday. The severe weather threat would be kind of along and east and south of this area of low pressure, off to the north, probably dealing with a windier, cooler, heavy rain at times. Again, southwestern. I cannot get west and east straight today. Southeastern Saskatchewan into Manitoba with that more significant Thursday rain chance before this wave lifts out of the area. Now we have this other low come through on the backside. There you see it across southern Saskatchewan here at 7 a.m. on Saturday. On the backside of this front, though, going to be a little bit moisture starved in this area. So this low pressure system, it kind of quickly makes its way from west to east. Not a lot to work with, but going to bring another shot of some cloud cover, maybe a cool light rain shower. The better rain chance is going to be setting up here as we get into the early part of next week. We'll see this next area of low pressure developing across the northern plains of the United States, pumping moisture up in advance of that, up and over the top, bringing rain back into the forecast here, again, early to mid next week across the Canadian Prairie, perhaps in significant fashion as we get into the middle to later parts of the next week. But really a pretty unsettled pattern here across the Canadian Prairie, at least keeping chances for some light rain showers in the forecast, but several waves of more significant rainfall possible across eastern portions here of southeastern Saskatchewan into Manitoba. The day-by-day precipitation forecast here, and we'll just go through time with this one. Let's go ahead and bring it back. I meant to hit pause here, coming back to Tuesday. So total precipitation here on Tuesday. Again, light rain showers likely across the entire southern prairie for the day on Tuesday. Wednesday, seeing a more significant rainfall threat off to the south. Going to be lighter across much of the prairie, maybe some heavier showers across southern Saskatchewan into southern Manitoba. That continues on Thursday as this wave lifts out of the prairie, or out of the northern plains through the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes Thursday and Friday. So Thursday going to be the best chance for some heavier, a blustery, heavy rain possible on Thursday across southeastern Saskatchewan into Manitoba. That next storm system quickly races across the area, bringing a light chance for some scattered to isolated showers for just about everyone in the southern prairie on Friday. Quieting down for the most part as we head into the weekend. It's late next week. The next storm system begins to emerge. Sunday, that rainfall chance higher across Alberta. And then as we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week, details are unclear here, but that's when we see the next chance for rain and thunderstorms making their way across the Canadian Prairie. That would be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. So that kind of spells it out. The next 5 days of precipitation here, taking it through Sunday, taking it through Saturday at 7 p.m. You see that corridor here across the Canadian Prairie. Again, that heaviest here in that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday time frame. Some light rain showers possible Friday, quiet Saturday, and then beginning late Sunday into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, picking back up as we talk about rain across the northern plain, or across the Canadian Prairie. Your temperature anomaly forecast here, the green and blue shading where it's cooler, the red shading where it's a bit warmer. Obviously, lots of rain and cloud cover in the area, keeping us a bit cooler as we start the week off here on Tuesday. Now we'll take this into the end of the week. As this area of low pressure begins to move through here, we're still dealing with cooler temperatures Wednesday and Thursday, especially as we deal with rain and cloud cover here on the backside of this thing. Cooler temperatures holding on Friday across Manitoba, starting to warm up on the backside here, so moderating some, perhaps seeing a couple warmer days as we get into the weekend and early next week across the Canadian Prairie. And then certainly as we talk about Saskatchewan and Manitoba, as this ridge begins to reestablish moving into next week, seeing some significant warmth build into the region. So across southern Manitoba, perhaps seeing temperatures anywhere from 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's about 5 to 10 degrees Celsius above normal across parts of southeastern Saskatchewan into southern Manitoba next week. So it's a slow warm up, but by the time we get to the early part of next week, perhaps eastern portions here seeing some significant warmth across the Canadian Prairie. Now taking a zoom in shot, looking at Alberta, the total precipitation here through the next 5 days, taking it into the weekend. Of course, you see that corridor of more heavy rain across the south. So this is a southern Alberta rain event here, talking about anywhere from 10 to maybe 20 millimeters or so over the next 5 days. Now we could see this area begin to fill in as we get into early next week. That's where we've got some question marks as we watch for our next storm system to emerge from the west. So as we head to the next 5 days, really focusing in on the southern prairie here, 10 to 20 millimeters of rain in kind of a scattered fashion. Your high temperatures for the next 5 days, cool, cloudy, and rainy as we start things off. High temperatures right around 10 to 13 degrees across the southern portions of Alberta here Tuesday. Warming as this thing begins to move off to the east here Wednesday. There we're seeing some warmth here as we get into Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So certainly some warmer weather in the forecast for Alberta, but the clock is a bit shorter on this one as we start to cool down. If I put another forecast in here as we get into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, likely cooling down across this region. As we move over to the east, taking a look at Saskatchewan and Alberta, same thing. We watch the corridor of more significant rain off to the south, especially as we get into Thursday. Thursday going to be a bit of a blustery and rainy day across southeastern Saskatchewan and southern Manitoba. Your high temperatures here again cooler to start things off. Tuesday, high temperatures anywhere from the around 10 degrees to 15 off to the south, anywhere from the lower to middle teens on Wednesday. Thursday, going to be again a cooler and rainy day across southern portions here of southeastern and southern Manitoba. Friday, that cooler weather beginning to move off to the east, starting to see some of that warmth rebound across the Canadian Prairie. And then in a more widespread fashion here as we get into Saturday, high temperatures back into the lower 20s, and then perhaps into the mid to upper 20s, maybe even 30 degrees across especially areas off to the south here, southeastern Saskatchewan and southern Manitoba. As we head into early next week, really looking at some summer-like warmth returning to the region. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video, and I'll be back to check in with the Canadian Prairie for you on Friday morning. Have a wonderful day.